All right, folks, welcome back to EIS Alaska. So we're just back here in our cozy little back hold now, and we're finishing up a couple of tasks before we get launched today. It's been a super busy month. Unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of time to get footage. We've just been under the gun, under a time crunch, and it was just really hard to focus on the tasks at hand and also gather footage for you guys to show you what's going on. So we do apologize for that, but it's just kind of the way it is. We've got some pretty big fisheries coming up, and we're hoping to have this boat ready for them. And so, yeah, we've been hustling. At any rate, we're to the point now where everything is in the shaft alley that's going to be here. We have our fuel lines installed. They're just plugged off right now. These actually go to tanks in the aft end of the vessel, carries the fuel forward. So these are just temporary plugs. We still have to put holes through here and get lines run into that, but that's something we can do in the water. We'll also have a water line going to our potable water tank, and also a drain line on this side. And those are just slid up forward out of the way right now. But all of that stuff had to go in before we put our bulkhead in and our shaft alley covers. So we're to the point now that everything is ready to go. Our couplings are all bolted up. Our bearings are in place. Everything is aligned. The clearance on these, you just basically use a feeler gauge and measure around the coupling. They came out really close. They're within less than 2 thou of a gap of an offset. So we were super happy with the alignment on that. Came out good. So hopefully we have a nice smooth ride. And kind of the last task I got going on here is to get this stuffing box finished up. I went and mounted this the other day, and I actually had 5200 on it, and I had it all sealed up and everything. And it was offset a little bit, it was crooked, and it was bugging me. And I ended up taking my flashlight and shining it in there. And inside right here, there's a pretty big gap right there that the packing goes in. But when we get to this point right here, the bore actually reduces on the inside, and there's only about, probably 3/32 of an inch between the shaft and the inner bore of this bronze stuffing box. And it was touching on one side, it was touching on the top. And so somewhere along the line, in between gluing this in and aligning these shafts, that got off a little bit. I think what happened is when we hung the prop, it actually bows the shaft a little bit, and it did change things, definitely changed things. And so that's something that we probably should have done, was had the prop on the shaft when we aligned everything. The bearings had to be shimmed, and we knew that would happen. So I think we should have dialed it in a little bit closer before we actually glued that up. But it didn't matter too much. I was just able to pop it loose. I broke the 5200 loose, got it all cleaned up, and then I just ended up laying up a couple layers of matte, and then a couple layers of 1708 on the back side of this, and I just made a perfect mold. And then I trimmed it up, I drilled the holes, and then I did the same thing as we did earlier. We just slid it into place, used our spacers here, and puttied it up good and slid that into place, and voila. And now when I sight back into the bore, I can see that we have clearance in there. Shaft isn't touching anywhere. Our spacer blocks that we made to align this go in perfectly. So I'm really glad I took the extra time to do that. It just ended up pushing the stuffing box forward a 1/4 inch, but that's really quite irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything or hurt anything. I actually honestly like it offset off the bulkhead a little bit. Now you can see it's just got a tiny little raised part right there that it's offset. And so that turned out really good. So the last thing to do is to install this packing, and this is what creates the seal between the shaft and the stuffing box and prevents water from coming into your vessel. Without this, you will sink. So this is Duramax Ultra X. This is a synthetic packing. It's supposed to be like way better than the traditional flax packings. It's supposed to carry the heat away from the shaft and into the stuffing box, thereby preventing damage to your shaft from heat. It's got some other qualities, and so it'll be interesting to use it. We haven't used this. We just use traditional flax packing on the fishtail. If we like this stuff, we'll probably switch over. It sounds good. This will have 6 rings of packing in it, so I'm going to install the first 3, and then we have a little plastic grease ring that goes in here. It lines up with this grease zerk right here, and then we'll have 3 more layers of packing after that, and then the compression collar right here. And I just have this taped up because I didn't want that little plastic thing to end up in the back of that bore and have to try and fish it out. It's a pretty tight fit in there. So it's pretty simple. You just want to offset these like 90 degrees or more. So all the seams you just offset each time, and then you're good. You can cut these as a butt joint like this, or you can skive them at a 45. I just did a butt joint, simple enough, and I'll show you when we cut the next set how we did it. So these should just slide right in here. And it is a tight fit. Kind of gotta work them in there and get them started. Want them to go in evenly. And we're gonna pay attention to where that seam is right there. And then we'll just overlap the other one. It says 90 degrees or more, so we'll just make it simple and probably do like 180 here.
Is it stiff to push in? Or is it
No, not terribly.
easy?
Yeah, the stuff is really slippery. So this is graphite based, I believe.
Yeah.
And traditional flax packing is more of like a grease and just, yeah, cotton flax. I guess it's cotton.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's impregnated with grease. I think it'll get a little stiffer as we go here for sure. So this stuff is a little bit different in the context that it actually has a break-in time, about 5 to 10 hours it says. So to start with, we're supposed to just finger tighten the compression collar right here and just basically let it leak. So we have a pump up forward. This is gonna drip a little bit under normal operation anyways. That's to lubricate the shaft and the packing, and it also helps cool the shaft a little bit. This additionally has a grease fitting, so you can't put grease in there. Just wiping off the dust a little bit. Still pretty dusty everywhere on this boat. So this is the grease ring right here. It's just got a groove in it and then holes, so as you pump grease through there, it will go down this channel and push through. Now it's a little stiff. So yeah, for the first 5 to 10 hours, you just run this loose and let it drip, and then after that you can tighten it up to the desired tightness. Now we can start to use this ring right here to compress this in.
huh?
Yeah, it is smooth. So that's the first 3 rings here. Now we'll do 3 more. And pretty simple.
Can you hand me that little stub down there?
What you got? Oh.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's really smooth.
Yeah, it's very slippery. So it's easy to cut. Let's take 3 wraps around there and then hold it tight. And I'm not worried about this tiny little bit of waste right here. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a clean cut, and that way it'll match up good. And we just simply cut it right in place on the shaft. Just a sharp utility knife.
Is flax harder to cut?
It is, because it's so
Gooey.
yeah, it's gooey and waxy. It's kind of a greasy wax. This stuff cuts very smoothly and easily. So just like that, little piece of waste, but 3 perfect rings. And now we'll go ahead and put these in place. Now we'll just use this to push them in. Starts to get a little stiff, looks like. Staggering our joints. Might actually have to push that one in a little bit first.
At some point they'll bottom out, huh?
Yeah, I suppose so. Draw it in a little bit with these nuts, being careful not to over tighten and bend these ears or anything. So this is supposed to get pretty hot at first, but like I say, this is designed to actually draw the heat away from the shaft and into your stuffing box and let it dissipate. And we'll just start tightening these up evenly. Not too much pressure on it. It's going in nice and easy. Looks like I come in just a touch more on the top there. And it's as simple as that. Once we get this in, we'll put a couple pumps of grease in this. This particular stuffing box has a rubber bladder in it right here. And you can see there is a small valve right here. It's just a Schrader valve like you would find on a car for the tires. And if you're in port for an extended period of time, you can inflate that around the shaft and it'll pinch around the shaft and prevent any water from leaking inside. so you don't have to tighten up your stuffing box and then come back later and loosen it up a little bit. You want these to drip, maybe a drop every second or so under normal operation. That's how they're designed, and like I say, that's what lubricates this whole area, lubricates the packing, keeps it cool. So that's a nice feature on this. You can also inflate that so you can, of course, service this and remove the old packing and put in new packing. On a smaller vessel like the fishtail, we've actually just done that in the water. It's no big deal. The inflow of water isn't enough to really overcome pushing in the flax, and you can do that in the water. Bigger vessels, you have more of a gap between the shaft and the housing, so that can be a substantial amount of pressure, especially if they have a deeper draft like this does. And so that's a nice feature to be able to service that in the water like that. So once I start to get close here, I'll just use my calipers and just measure this distance and keep it equal. I'm not even really sure how much I need to tighten this right now.
Yeah, it's just that the packing is supposed to be in the socket with the compression ring
Yeah.
in it. You don't want it like exposed, so.
Right. And it did just say hand tight. We'll just muddle along, I guess. So once we get launched, we'll have to go around and check all of our fittings and through holes. We basically went through everything on the boat. Every through hole, every penetration below the water line was removed. It was inspected and put back in. We actually replaced most everything. We eliminated 3 valves, I guess. Put 1 new valve back in, a tri-flange, and got rid of just the ball valve that was threaded onto a through hole. And then we added another large intake, a 3-inch intake. We had to move the keel cooler for the generator and move it up about 5 inches to make clearance for that. We're excited to have this all back together and ready to go now. So like I was saying, once we get launched, we'll go around and check all these penetrations, make sure we don't have any leaks or anything. And fingers crossed, we're good to go. And we'll motor over to our slip, which will be quite exciting.
Well, a little more fine tuning and I guess tighten up your lock nuts and it's good, huh?
Yeah.
That's how you pack a packing gland. All right, well, as you can see, the trav lift is strapped up under us. Tyler came by and hooked him up last night while we were doing some finishing work out here. Over here, you can see well, actually, you probably can't see it because it's pretty dark. All right, I'll go to the other side. You can see it from back here. There's some patches up in here. It's pretty dark to see. So, but we rebedded the sealing face on the keel cooler there. Put a new zinc on it. Got rid of 5 through holes over here. Replaced 1 with a tri-flange on the inside. We're here on the port side. Now you can see a little better. So up there was just a regular old ball valve. It was capped off from before. And right there you can see where the keel cooler used to be. We moved it up about 5 inches. Same with all the pads, of course. We also added a standout pad because this hole right here has a lot of curve to it. And it was putting a lot of tension on those keel cooler tubes. So we stood out about a ½ inch here, and I think it was a 1/4 inch back there. Just left the middle pad there against the hull. And down here, you can see our home-built strainer. Dad laid up the whole thing like months ago, so feels good to finally have it installed. Drilled those holes in it last night. It's really good. And aside from that, not a whole lot of work done structurally or anything like that. Back here at the prop is all hooked back up. Dad put the zinc on, hydraulic cemented it in place yesterday. We got the nuts all torqued down to give or take 450 foot-pounds. Cutlass bearing, that was all done a little while ago. Not really too much different there. Just reapplied that bonding strap there, bolted it back on. And yeah, I think all in all, overall, we're a lot more sound. Not that it was like unsound before, but like we feel really, really good about everything under the water now.
Yeah, well, anytime you have a new boat like that, it's kind of prudent to go through and take a good look at everything. Spots like keel coolers, those penetrations are particularly overlooked just because it's a lot harder just to drop them off there and clean them up and reseal them. So a lot of times those are just kind of, you know, not maintained or not checked as thoroughly. And that was the case on here. The backing plates were in rough shape. And
yeah, they were all wooden and sunken in from the nut.
Yeah,
and
somewhat
also
degraded.
The sealant itself was pretty soft from, I guess, just diesel and oil softening it up over time. So
yeah, all that stuff breaks down over time. So it's good to go through that and check it and make sure that it's all in top-notch shape. So that's where we are now. Everything's been gone through. We have, you know, 100% confidence in everything below the water line. Those of you guys that don't know, these are the travel lifts that lift boats in and out of water, and they do it with these big gigantic straps right here. So it's a pretty cool setup. It's open on one end so you can pull in without removing your rigging, and quite an enormous machine, really. And then the straps, of course, they have to get them underneath the vessel, and that's just done right here. When they come in to sling you up, the straps are hanging on each side, and then they pull them together, and they just have a big pin right here. This has got a keeper on it, and then this big pin just comes out. It's hinged on one side, and you just pull that pin out, and then the two straps disconnect.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so that way they can disconnect you and use their travel lift to move other boats around.
Those pins hold a lot of weight.
Yeah.
What is it?
I think they're lead partly too, to keep the strap down.
Oh, these leaded?
Yeah.
They're heavy. They're heavy straps. They have a big, thick rubber cover on there to protect the actual strap itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the tonnage is. This is a 100.
I'm pretty sure you said that the travel lift can lift 100 tons.
This one here.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so what's actually cool too is that this is the same engine block that's in the fishtail. It's a little John Deere. I believe it's a 6414. Looking at it, it looks just like the engine on the fishtail, with the exception that this is just a regular exhaust manifold. We have a water-cooled manifold on the fishtail and an expansion tank on the front, but everything else about it is the same as a fishtail, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
These are good little motors. Yep.
There's that little block heater, huh?
Yeah, a little block heater on it.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, well, we're pretty excited. You can probably, maybe you can't hear, but in the background they're hauling out the Raven over here now.
Oh my god.
So we're up next.
Moving your truck?
Lifting the straps.
You guys can see way up there where the cables go up and the pulleys, those also slide back and forth on the gantry so they can position the straps where they need to be.
Oh. But there it goes. Up in the air again. Slowly but surely.
For those of you that have never seen a travel lift, this is where the guy drives from.
Here he comes. Nothing but an empty spot left. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, let's get fired up. Start looking for leakies.
Sounds happy.
Yeah. Check what?
Are you ready? Or are you letting it warm up? Okay. See you over there, hun.
All right, sounds good.
I want to pull that buoy in. Good. Floating free. That's just a CO2 alarm. That's just CO2 alarm.
Oh, CO2 alarm.
Yeah.
That's good, that works.
Yeah. Looking good. Plenty of room over here. Where's T?
Right here.
Okay. Yeah. Looking good.
We are officially cut loose.
Yeah, we all look good.
Here they go.
Have to get a couple fenders out, I guess.
Are we going fuel dock?
Yeah, we should get some fuel.
Okay.
Just so we have good fuel to fire up the generator and whatnot.
Yeah.
Check the temp on those bearings. Check the temp on those bearings. again
Yeah.
one more time. I'm sure we're good, but
Yep.
looks good, Dad.
We're good.
Yeah, nice. Are we ready?
Yeah, we got some ship lines ready, but need to go through the door for the others.
Okay. Can you kick out a buoy over here?
Yeah, I did.
Alrighty. We're ready?
Sure. Do you want to get this line or the here?
Just don't hop to the dock, okay? Be patient.
I think I'll just get my turn. Okay.
First field trip in Kodiak.
We had to push her over the yard with the push down. Yeah, we're just gonna get a little shot on the side.
All right, just got some fuel. Not really a lot to see. Gonna cruise back to the harbor, tie her up again, continue working.
Back to the grind, literally.
Yeah. One day, soon enough, we'll be just cruising out to the water, out to the grounds.
Yeah.
Cool winter breeze.